Welcome back to Is It Wrong? The topic of girls in a dungeon anime review, episode 49. Yeah, for something called featuring a dungeon, it's only seen in the background a few times in this episode, and we see people come out of it. But here's the thing. Bell does not go into the dungeon at all this whole season. He's not going to. The reason why is because of the story that's going on here. For something about basically a guy who basically raided dungeon, it was like that the first season where Live was in dungeon. Season 2, not very much per se. Season 3 was kind of the same thing per se. I would say 4 basically went back to this, basically went back to the dungeon, and have a whole season dedicated to dungeon exploration. This season, not very much. No, not very much at all. So, the episode opens pretty much not long after the events of the ending of the last episode, where Bell is being comforted by his own Familia, Ryu's there, and Ashia's there, which is interesting because she's actually not in this scene. Her addition in this scene is complete anime original. Well, there's actually a reason why. Because a lot of the stuff that feature her in the actual novel is like cut from the anime. Yeah, they pretty much cut out like all... I didn't see her appear. I didn't see her appear after this opening scene. So, Bell reveals to Ryu that he had rejected her. Basically tells what happened at the end of the last episode, where Sire told that she's in love with him. Bell turns her down because it's shown he's own eyes. It was flashback, I guess, but she doesn't do anything in this episode. So Ryu understands and goes look for Sire. Bell goes with her. Ariel looks for Sire. And then, like, Hestia wonders what the heck Sire is, though she's, like, has a theory of, like, maybe she possibly might be Freya. And then Freya shows up, completely out of nowhere, confronting Hestia, saying, "Hi, Hestia, can I help Bell, please?" Hestia says no, so she's like, snaps her fingers, and her whole Familia attacks basically her guild. Her entire Familia are all taken out, including Ryu. And by the way, the Mame Tavern, because of the fact her waitresses got attacked by the Freya Familia, well, and also because basically I was up about the Freya Familia about this, that she's basically had to temporarily, like, has probably started having help with the cafe because of this. So, by the way, the Hestia Familia, Wilf, Lily, Makito, Haru, yeah, they pretty much don't do much this episode, and it's not their fault. And it's not the tiny. Here's the thing: the rest of the Hestia Familia, the role in this episode, where first they're seeing where they're talking, and then later on they get the crap beat out of them about the Freya Familia, and then of course very briefly at the end of the episode, you're probably thinking, did the anime cut out like a lot of their screen time? No, that didn't happen. Because that's how they were portrayed in the book. So it's not the fault of JC Staff for this particular thing, but it's actually the writer. Point the blame at him for this, not the animation team. There's a lot of the time basically where people might blame the anime for, hey, why was this character got basically reduced for this episode? Well, or why stuff happened this scene that probably, like, why is this here? I go to the example of Goblin Slayer. Yes, I know the studio who made it got a lot of flack for the opening scene featuring basically, well, a rape. Well, they put that there, though I do fault them for not issuing a trigger warning for this, because they did do it for the next season, and at least Skeleton of the World did actually feature trigger warning for this, but they apparently forgot to put trigger warning there for theirs, and the thing is, it's not their fault the rape scene happened. It is not their fault. They are adapting the book. They probably were told to put this in there by the writer, so it's the writer's fault, not their fault. It's kind of the same thing here. If you want to blame somebody for the Hestia Familia not doing much anything this whole episode, it's the writer's fault, not basically his fault. It's not JC Staff's fault. It's not the writer's fault. It's not the studio. It's not the team, and it's not the writers of this episode. It's not their fault. They're just adapting source material. So, not their fault in this matter. So, and then of course, after the whole Familia is basically beaten by Freya's Familia, Though Ryu is basically a city by Astronema, basically Hermes' subordinate. And of course, Belle is dumped at the feet of Hestia. Hestia is about to touch him, and then of course she's blocked by Order, who was the one who actually attacked Belle in the episode. Who also the same one who basically threw Rio against a freaking wall. I'm like, I guess he doesn't give respect to women for him. This one, I think the woman he respects probably is Freya. And then, of course, Belle. Well, then, of course, basically, like, of course, well, here's the thing. At this point, this is, of course, mentioned by Hermes. It's only been 6 months since he joined her Familia. Like, he could do it temporarily, and, of course, well, you kind of make it basically a bit later. And then, of course, where, like, get it back, per se. So then, of course, basically, like, and then, like, not long after this, people are just surrounding the dungeon, ranting at Freya for the massive attack her Familia did in the city. From their perspective, they probably think it for doing for no reason. So basically, she decided to out herself as sire publicly, and the fact that Hermes know what's going to happen, tells Hestia, like, raise her divinity as high as she can, Where, get this, so, and then, of course, Hestia proceeds to cast a charm on the entire city. And everybody is affected by it. Except for the Hestia Familia and, like, a few other people. So, then we see Belle wake up in a room that's not his. It's not his room in the Hestia Manor. Nope. He's in the Freya's mansion. Yep. He gets out, sees his basically his teacher, want to talk to a gentleman, and kicks him because it's breakfast time. He does not know what the heck is going on. He is completely... It's not his fault. He's completely clueless. Basically, they all think he's part of the Familia, despite that he thinks he isn't. And he goes around people he does know. Apparently, a lot of them don't know who he is. Or like, oh, you're Belle Cornell from the Familia. Excuse me. Even his own advisor doesn't know him like the way he knows her. And they do kind of some other goddesses that he does know in the city that they apparently that they a lot of the stuff basically what happened after he meets with his advisor, like who apparently who does know about her reputation but does not know him personally, but she, well, basically like everything else that happened, a lot of this happened afterwards. Him running out of the city, they run into the Hestia Familia who don't recognize him. There's something Hestia does remember him, but she has to keep silent about it because of the Freya charm. Now, there's a lot cut here, and I do mean a lot. Him running into Micah, Cassandra, Daphne, people he does know, they probably don't know who he is. My guess is they're probably protected by... My guess is either Micah must have gotten a note from Hestia very quickly to raise his divinity so he'll be immune to Freya's charm because she charmed the whole city. And then the episode ends with him like kneeling on the ground crying because he doesn't know what's happening. And by the way, the book basically covered. The anime covered like the first 80 pages of the book, which kind of surprised they did, though they make a lot of cuts in chapter 2, but mostly they probably did for time, but mostly put the meat of that is there, and I do appreciate the fact they kept a lot of this here. Now, did I expect this to happen? Yes. When I was watching the scene with Hestia and Freya, I'm like, oh crap, I know exactly where this happened. This happened in chapter 1. I not think it happened at the beginning of the chapter. I do remember this happened in this very chapter. And this was so good of an episode. I'm glad they kept the important stuff in. Yes, the Micah stuff basically could be kept in, but probably kept through time. And there's stuff also with Ainz. Yes, she is seen in the chapter 2, but her appearance were cut in the episode. My guess is they might include those next week. Maybe, who knows. But we'll find out with next episode called Aurorio. Yep. And by the way, we're only 5 episodes into this season. There is exactly 10 more episodes left to go, and then we're done. As to the episode anime I just finished reviewing, previous one, which was As a Reincarnated Aristocrat, My Praise Around the World. That one has 7 episodes left to go, while this has 10. Yep. But yeah, not much to say this episode, so that's pretty much a particular view. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications, and do not hit the like button. Next up is Hunter x Hunter, and then it's on to Fairy Tale One Year's Quest. Okay, next video. Bye.